ultimately, you're the one deciding if you're going to apply these things or apply anything I say, actually, because, you know, I can only guide people. I can't take the steps for them. I can, you know, that's impossible in anything, actually. It is impossible in anything. So ultimately, you have to decide, do I want to change? Do I want to apply this mentality, this mindset? Do I want to apply these strategies? Do I like it? Well, perhaps you don't like everything, but you apply the general philosophy, you know? You apply the general idea of the aesthetic humanism, all right? You apply the basic idea, because you need the whole thing, because like I said, this is almost like a second part of the previous video, because you know, a car needs all of its parts. You can't just have a steering wheel. You gotta have everything, all right? You know, the motor is the most important, which is, you know, that's body and mind, basically. So you gotta have all of that. And it's not impossible to do this, you know. It's not impossible to do this. It's just application. And you gotta switch from being the consumer, and you gotta realize that you're a creator, all right? And you gotta start creating. So the whole purpose, the whole reason why the philosophy exists is so that you can work on your purpose, your legacy, so that you can work on that, and so that human life can thrive, instead of having all this technology today, which should aid us. It should help us, all right? The technology shouldn't hinder us, it should help us. And the problem is that most people can't do this. They don't have self-discipline. They are chaotic, all right? They are chaotic. They don't have rules. And that's why I've created these rules for you. I've created these rules for you and for me, actually. I've created them for myself so that I have some order in life, so that I can accomplish and so that I can finish everything I want to finish. Every single work I want to finish, I will finish, because I am my own motivator now. There is nothing else that has to motivate me. I am on my own now. And in some sense, it's beautiful, it's freedom, it's, you know, but it also takes a lot from you. Of course it does. It takes a lot of energy from you. But that's why you're a creator, an originator. That's why you should be one of the greats. You know, that's why I always talk about, you know, I look for the greats here. I don't care for the masses, all right? Even if the masses listen to me, I don't care for the masses, because I know for a fact that not everyone will apply, and not everyone will, you know, most people will just listen and they will just move on with their lives. But those who truly take at least something to heart, then I've created some meaning in life, all right? And even better if I can do this after my death, all right? After my death, I can still give meaning. So that's the legacy. That's the true meaning of life. You see, the true meaning of life is actually not just living. It is living after life, but it is not transcendent, all right? This is not a transcendent thing. It is in reality. It is in nature, because my work will always be in nature as long as some sentient being exists. As long as that exists, I will exist. And as long as that exists, the meaning of my life and the meaning of my work will always exist. And the same for you, the same for everyone else that has created something. But you've got to be a creator. You can't be just a consumer. You got to consume, but you got to consume the right things, the right books, not just the right books, but, you know, the right thinkers. If you're an intellectual, the right sportsman, you know. For example, if you want to be a basketball player, you got to study Michael Jordan, all right? You got to study LeBron James. You got to study Shaq O'Neal, you know, you got to study all these greats in basketball and so forth. And the same in philosophy. You got to study Heraclitus. You got to study Aristotle, Nietzsche, Camus, you know, all the greats, all the greats. Even though I don't think, you know, Aristotle is the greatest, you know, I like the pre-Socratics most because, you know, they still hadn't been tainted by this Platonic, you know, transcendent idea. You know, you have Democritus, you have all these. They're fascinating, and also we don't know a lot about them. So in some sense, that is part of the mystery there. But since we have some fragments, we can build something, and that's what I've built from. So I've built from this, and from basically every single source I can think of. It's not just this. So I've created this, but I've also melted together with fitness and health, and because that is the mind and body, that is super important, and meditation as well, all these tools, and those are the most important tools. And just later on you will get to relationships and so forth. But even with relationships, of course it is crucial to be social, but you gotta sacrifice a lot of it. You gotta sacrifice a lot of the social, all right? And even, you know, I'm a very social creature, very. I am like that by nature. So I kind of have to force myself not to give others my time. Your own time is the most important, because when you're in your own time, you work on your legacy, your task, nothing else. So you only have mind, body, task. You see only three things in life. So it's important, but it's also important to socialize, and you shouldn't see that as wasting your time, except when it is, all right? You should have control here. You need control, self-control all the time, all right? You gotta parent yourself. You are your own watcher, your own parent, your own watcher of the inner child, all right? The naiveness in you. You gotta watch yourself. You know, I can't be there for you all the time. You gotta watch yourself all the time, and have these sounds in your head when you do things. You know, start applying these mottos or phrases and so forth into your own thinking every time you are in these situations and so forth. So you gotta apply this mindset, this mentality, philosophy. It is a philosophy. You know, ultimately it's a philosophy. It's a practical aspect and a theoretical aspect. You always have both. You gotta believe in the thing. You know, I've thought a lot about that as well. So belief and so forth. So basically the world is so flexible and in some sense that you have all these religions and beliefs and thoughts and so forth. Not just religions, but all forms of ideology and ideas and philosophies, all right? And it's interesting how it is possible to basically, let's say you program a person, and then you program a person with a certain belief, a certain philosophy, and then that will work in some sense, you know? Almost anything will work. The same in fitness as well, you know? Pushing, pulling, you can do calisthenics, but you can also reach the similar goals in the gym and doing, you know, similar stuff. But it's different because you're lifting stuff. So it's not the same, and yet it is the same. You see, it is quite interesting how beliefs can still work, even though it's wrong. Let's say the philosophy is mostly wrong. It is still, and it still has enough, you know, truth, so to speak. It still has enough reality in it that it is possible. Especially if it's combined with something that we've created, like a civilization and so forth. Or if a civilization is built upon it. Like the ancient Egypt, we have these gods, kings, and so forth. So it is interesting that worked, and everyone in some sense had to have the same belief for it to work. But still, we know that in reality that's not true, of course. Not everyone will believe it. There is always someone that will go against it. We have natural born rebellions, and always rebelling from the previous generation, and I consider myself that, so in a lot of ways. But in a lot of ways I still love my family, and I still love parts of tradition. Well, not tradition in that sense, but I'm interested in it, I'm fascinated by it. But I'm creating my own here. I'm creating my own thing here. And so this is a whole philosophy, all right? This goes deep, very deep. I wanted to go as deep as possible into the human psyche, but also into the human life, more importantly, and enhance and help this life, even if it's lower, help the lower life to get higher, moving up the mountains. That is the aim here, always towards greater health, increased health. You can call it whatever you want to. Well, those are my words. I will always use my own language. And you will just get more and more used to it, but I just realized that I have to express this, otherwise people don't understand. It's a whole thing. I want each and every video of mine to be understandable. I want to understand it myself, so I will always I've always loved, simple language. The ancient Greek philosophers, they didn't complicate things, So I want to emulate the same thing there. So you see emulating from the previous video. We all emulate things. We all collect. I said collect something. Well, I mean, we all collect a lot of information, a lot of wisdom from others, from all kinds of places. So in a lot of sense, all of us are this adaptable, programmable, adaptable creature that can utilize information from many patterns, many areas of life, and then assemble it. That's basically what I've done. So that not everyone has to do this, That's why I exist. So I'm the meta of this. I'm the meta of the meta. I'm the meta of all metas. And so you don't have to redo anything. I've already given most, well, it's always evolving, but I've given so much, especially those philosophy lectures. I will get back to those, but they take a lot of energy from me, but I will get back to them. There is some discussion about perfection that I want to get through, thoroughly get through, and so there are no misunderstandings. There will be misunderstandings. People have misunderstood all philosophies. Basically, people, in my opinion, most people misunderstand Jesus even, and Buddha and so forth. Most people misunderstand all of these greats. Well, you can see them as greats or not, but they're great. They've influenced the whole world, So in some sense of that word, the word great, that is true. But they might not be great on an individual level. We can have greater things. And actually, that's one thing that Jesus said. I haven't come here for greater things. Different people will be greater than me, he said. His work was done there, His work was done, and it had a clear purpose and so forth. But not that I agree with all of that, but it's interesting that he said that. There is a passage, I think in Matthew, where he says, I haven't come here, for creating great things on earth. There are others that will create greater things. I'm just, well, he's a message, or, well, I love some stuff. So for example, the inner temple, you see, that's your body. You gotta work with your body, your inner temple. That is your treasure. That is your treasure. And it's true. It is true. body and mind. So you see, even though I don't agree with everything, I pull out things that I like, and I've created my own thing out of all of those, out of all of them. Perhaps I don't even remember where I got everything from, from all of these thinkers, or philosophies. But it doesn't matter. We're all, like someone says, we're all remixers. We all remix things. So you don't have to worry about being original. This is especially for artists. You don't have to worry too much about being original. You will be original by the very fact of being yourself and being truthful and honest to yourself, but also others, but in your work and in all of your intentions as well. And also, being truthful to who you are, but also, realizing your limits, but also realizing where you're great, and enhancing that. And that's the purpose of my stuff. And so, I know that I'm great at thinking and writing and so forth, but I also know my limits, of course. I'm not the greatest. I will never be a huge bodybuilder, for example. I like certain bodybuilders and so forth. They have great personalities. You're born with your personality, part of it at least. You can always change yourself. Nothing is, we're not fatalistic here. You can always change yourself. You should. Actually, you're doing that each and every day. So you go from your old self to new self all the time. But the thing is but you can't actually, but you gotta have a purpose and direction. So that's where I come in. And if you watch my philosophy lectures, you will understand this. But it is important that you understand that, don't worry about being original here. You will become original when you connect all the dots, you connect all things, and then you move even deeper and deeper into your own philosophy without having to, and not just philosophy, your own work, if you're an artist and so forth, and you will find new treasures. Like I said in my river, third stream river analogy, or metaphor, you will have these treasures under the water, finding these new treasures all the time, your own river, all right? You will be the great contrarian in some sense, but also a contrarian has collected everything and filtered everything that it doesn't like. So the same with my philosophy. I've filtered everything that's nonsense, and I've only kept that which makes sense to reality and is grounded, the most possibly grounded, especially thus far, all right? So some of the science might not be, that's why I don't just go with science. I combine science, philosophy, and art. So I've always done that. I will always do this. So it's not like the science can't work out everything, because science is just a method. It's just a tool. Philosophy as well, but philosophy is a flexible tool, while science is great at being specialized. So it is great at finding mechanisms and how exactly everything works as a mechanism, but we're not artificial mechanisms here. We're biological creatures. We're flexible, adaptable, and so forth. So that's the beauty of humanity. So I always want to keep humanity intact, our own humanity. So it's aesthetic because we cut out things that we don't need, everything we don't need. And then we keep our humanity, hence aesthetic human. It's very simple. So you remove all your daily clutter, social media, all of that stuff. You remove all of that. You only focus on mind, body, training, fitness, health, meditation, sleep, habits. That's all, and your ideas, of course, all right? So mind, like I said, you don't forget about mind. And you work on your task, your mind, body, and your task, that's it. That's all you do. And then you gotta sacrifice something. You gotta sacrifice the lower desires. You gotta sacrifice garbage foods, all right? You all know what that is. You gotta sacrifice being at parties all the time. You can't party all the time. You gotta sacrifice that so that you can create your purpose work on earth, all right? So those are my own words there. So that's the purpose of me, all right? So I'm the meta, you see? That's why I'm the meta, because that's part of the meta there. I have other purposes as well. This is not the only one I have. I have my books and poems and so forth, my paintings and, you know, short films and stuff like that. But I also have this. So I have the, you know, I'm the many purposes man. So I don't have one purpose, because I've always been like this. Like I said in the previous video, my nature isn't like that. My nature is multiple. I have many selves in some sense. I can't be at one place only. I'm interested in dreams and strange things and quantum mechanics, everything. I'm interested in everything. So anything that's science, philosophy, and art, I'm interested in. Those three have always been my love. So that's me and more about me, but I've already spoken about this, but I know that some people haven't seen and don't want to watch perhaps like 100 videos, but if you watch a couple of them, you will understand who I am. So that's all I had to say here about philosophy and recent thoughts. Just wanted to expand on the previous video. And yeah, that is it. So keep on working on yourself, focus on yourself, and I make videos every single day. I should put that up there perhaps, that I always make videos. I feel like I have so much in me that I should be able to create videos all the time. I have so much to give. I don't care if you don't want it, I still want to give. So, so I'm not just doing this for you, I'm actually doing it for myself. You see, there is a relationship there, a dynamic. I'm giving, but I'm also taking in some sense. So, all right, so, and that is deeply connected to what I said in the previous video. Oh, and by the way, I want to do dry fasting now, because this is a great thing. Every third month, when you take a week off from your training, it is actually a great idea to reset everything. So you can even do a dopamine fast. But more importantly, you do a dry fast. At least 2 to 3 days. So you reset your metabolism, you reset everything, or you even heal something. And it doesn't matter if you're obese or if you're thin, or, you know, it doesn't matter who you are, or muscular. This is still important for every single person. Fasting, without fasting, you don't have health, all right? You gotta fast, otherwise you don't have your greatest health. So, and this is important for, you know, getting rid of, this is the true detox and cleanse, all right? That's the true way. It's the only way, actually. So you dry fast for 3 days, for example. I will do that. So my last meal will be today, and I wish I could record everything live. I wish I could record it live so I could show that there is no problems doing this. Not even close. It even feels great once you get used to this. You almost miss it sometimes, but you can feel it approaching. You feel like, all right, so I need this now. I need this now. I'm getting too, you know, stuffy or sore and so forth. So I need just a removal of clutter and everything. You see, ascetic human. So I get back to my humanity there. So you remove, you know, toxins, you remove perhaps even an ailment and so forth. So that's great. And it's a perfect opportunity while you take a rest from your training anyway. So why not utilize this time and use this time for dry fasting? So that is that. I will film this. I'll take pictures, and you will see what happens to the body. But I will still take walks and so forth, because I'm pretty used to dry fasting. Well, I am very used to dry fasting. I dry fast every single day for almost a whole year now. So I'm very used to dry fasting. So this is not something difficult for me. But I will lose a lot of water weight. You lose a lot of water weight, but then you gain it back pretty quickly, and you'll get back to your, you don't have to worry about losing muscle even, and so forth. So because you're not doing this every single day, you know, it's not the same. When you're going over, you know, every day, I do every day like 22 to 23 hours, but that's not the same, and it's not a deep autophagy and cleansing the same way with, you know, 48 hours and even more, even longer with 72 hours, and even stronger with 72 hours, and even longer than that. So your body is very capable. You're not fragile. We're not fragile creatures, not even close. We can survive almost anything. We've survived 2 world wars. We've survived everything, all right? Mountains, you know, deserts. We've survived everything. So I will see you tomorrow.